But it definitely starts with being brave enough to just see the data points as data points instead of to assign meaning to them. And even if you are, looking at these things and assigning meaning, it's okay to be like, oh, so now we know that. And now we move forward in a different way, right? We just create new habits that create new results.
Welcome to the Life Coaching for Mompreneurs podcast, where you will learn simple solutions to win at work without losing at home. Hi, my name is Martine Williams, and I'm your host and CEO, your Chief Encouragement Officer. And this podcast is your one-stop shop to creating a burnout-proof life and business by elevating your clarity, confidence, and courage. Friends, it's time to say goodbye to being the yes girl, to procrastinating on your goals and living in overwhelm. And it's time to say hello to creating healthy boundaries, healthy mindsets, and healthy habits so that you can achieve work-life harmony. Your next breakthrough starts here. This is the Life Coaching for Mompreneurs podcast. Let's do this. Hey friends, welcome back to the show. Today's topic, we're talking about profitable business model, profitable business strategies, knowing your numbers. Do you know your numbers as the CEO of your business? Do you feel empowered by your numbers? Do you feel intimidated by your numbers? Do you not even want to look at your numbers? We're diving into all of those things today and also talking about profit from a completely different perspective. So my guest today is Tana Kramer, and she is the founder of TK Solutions, which makes her a profitability strategist and guide dedicated to helping women leaders and entrepreneurs achieve sustainable growth and financial success. She has a business administration and management degree from Arizona State and decades of experience across industries. She specializes in streamlining operations, improving efficiencies, and driving profitability. Who doesn't want that? And her approach really empowers entrepreneurs like you to align their businesses with their lifestyle goals, creating a foundation for both financial and personal fulfillment. It's a both and. And we talk about this a lot on the podcast. You don't have to sacrifice your ambition for alignment, your ambition for profits, for peace. And I love that she is on board with that. And so this conversation is amazing. You're going to really enjoy getting to know her. And so let's dive right in. Well, hey friends, welcome back to the show. Today we have another Turquoise Talk guest, Miss Tana Kramer. Thank you so much, Tana, for coming on the show to talk about probably something that women don't like to talk about, but we need to have this discussion. So I appreciate you taking the time to come on.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to be here. And yeah, I know that women don't necessarily like to talk about finance and numbers, but I promise this is a safe place. I ultimately want to be the women business owners cheerleader in this particular vein of business. Yeah. And so let's dig in. Let's not be scared.
Yeah. So tell us just a little bit about you, how you got into the work that you're doing today and your family. Just give us a little bit of background on you.
Sure. So I have kind of always been a service provider at heart. I mean, I started way back when in my dad's glass shop and really, really liked answering the phone and figuring out how can I help him. And I think ultimately I had an ulterior motive. I wanted him to be home more, which I don't think I even realized until just this moment as I said it. But I've always wanted to help support business owners so that they could be really present in their actual personal lives. Mm-hmm. My husband and I have a business together called TK Solutions, and he does the taxes, and I kind of say I do everything else. So I'm function as a fractional CFO. Also call myself a profitability strategist, because I think that sometimes people don't know what a fractional CFO is, or that feels bigger than what their baby business needs. But ultimately, my whole goal is that I lift up women business owners so that they can own their money story and really make sure that they're making enough money, that they have a profitable, sustainable business that they want to get up and do every single day. And then on the personal front, my husband and I have 3 kids. We launched the last one in May of 2024. We put all of our things into an RV and we drove around for the better part of 9 months. The last 3 months, it broke down, so it was a little tricky. So we decided there's plenty of ways to have an adventure. And so we plopped ourselves into Asheville, North Carolina, where we've been the last 90 days or so. And so far, we really love it. Getting to explore a part of the country we haven't seen before. And I'm really excited to like dig into some in-person networking again, because I think that that was one of the things that we were like, we forgot that that was so important part of our life before. So yeah, that's where we're at.
Yeah, love it. Love it. So you're just right up the road from me, being in North Carolina. So that's super fun. I do love Asheville. We were talking about that before we started recording. But I love you talked about like the money story. And I think that the work that I do with clients, and you probably have seen this too, that it really does start in the mindset, and it starts in the story that you have about even maybe just about profit, worthiness to be successful and make money as a woman. Money story about what are these numbers going to make it mean about me as an entrepreneur when I'm looking at these numbers. Like
Absolutely.
it's all part of the process. And so I think sometimes when we think about looking at our numbers, part of the reason that I have found for most of them, they don't want to look at them is because they're worried about what they're going to say about themselves or what meaning they're going to place
Yeah.
numbers with their worth and their identity and all of that. So I'd love for you to just kind of touch maybe a little bit about that, what you've seen. And like, I feel like that we have to start there because they're not even going to look at their numbers if they're like, number one, why is it important to
Mhm.
look at my numbers? And what am I going to make that mean about me if I'm not where I want to be in my numbers? Right. And so we just kind of like avoid, abort. I don't even want to look at that.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's what I find. Mindset is everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so how you approach things can really take you off track or really keep you in the zone of excellence. And so at the end of the day, I think that you really have to sort of deal with your money stuff because it's really just data. Money is just a tool, and looking at your numbers is just data points that can really help inform some of your decision making if you're not afraid to look. Because here's the thing, maybe you're like, okay, so I'm an overspender. Great. You know that about yourself. No reason to be upset about that. How do we get that in more in alignment with your goals? And so I usually really start from when I start working with somebody, I say like, what are your current like pain points, things that are keeping you up at night, and things that you kind of secretly worry about but don't tell anyone, because there's always some like skeletons in that closet from a finance perspective. And then we start to talk about what their goals are and where they would like to see the business or where they would like to see their life or how they would like to feel in working with clients. And then I start to like build a bridge to here's like the why of what we need to look at in order to get you to the goals. And we start to like just build a little bit of a bridge to that. But it definitely starts with being brave enough to just see the data points as data points instead of to assign meaning to them. And even if you are, looking at these things and assigning meaning, it's okay to be like, oh, so now we know that. And now we move forward in a different way, right? We just create new habits that create new results. Anything that's happened in the past it's also just data. I believe that we're all like doing the best that we can with what we have. But if we
Yeah.
can insert more objectivity to some of the things that we're working through and then just start new, like just start laying new paths, you
Yeah.
can really get to a really beautiful place if you're willing
Yeah.
to look.
Yeah. And I love that you brought up that I see this a lot too. Like I'm doing the best I can with the information I have at the time. Like if you really can truly tap into that and believe that, then I think you can look at the data points as just data and feedback and not a personal like identity of who you are and what you bring to the table or how you've operated in your business. It's just a data point. And if you can change your mind about that and just say, oh, okay, this data is telling me this.
Yeah, and here's the thing, newsflash, like people think they know. Like I can't tell you how many times I've worked with people who are like, oh yeah, I know my numbers. I know my numbers. And so we start to dig in and it's like, we think we know, we think we remember. But when we start really sort of taking the black and white of how do we spend the money and where did things go to, everybody thinks that they know or thinks that they remember, and we don't. So, case in point, I at the end of last year was like, oh, my business wasn't doing this as well as it did the year before. I was all in my own feelings about it, right? In my
Yeah.
own business, because at the end of the day, I'm helping business owners, and so it's really easy to like get everybody else organized. But then you're like, I have to look at my own business. So again, I have a date with myself every month to like look at my own things. But when I was wrapping up the end of the year, I was like, why am I giving myself such a hard time? Like, I of course made a profit because, again, profit, you have to have profit. Like, you have to have profit to have a sustainable business. But I thought the number was lower. And guess what? I was wrong.
Yes.
When it came down to it, the person who do this for people all the time, was still in my own feelings about what it was. And as it turns out, I had really great growth from a profit perspective year over year. My revenue wasn't the same, but my profit was better. And I was feeling better about my business. And so I was like, are you seriously going to be an example of what you talk about? And I'm like, yes, it's because we all sort of think the same about, we think we got it. We think we got it. And so I regularly have that conversation with business owners. And then again, every once in a while, you have that conversation with yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, again, like we're thinking that we're going into looking at our numbers like, oh my goodness, it's going to show me all the places that I'm falling short versus going in and just saying, can I go from a neutral space and can I mind and find the places where I'm actually excelling,
Yeah.
right? Or learning or growing. And then where are the areas of opportunity for growth as well? The same thing happened to me. I just like knew in my mind, like I was behind year to date.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking I was behind. And when I actually took the time to go look, I was like, no, I'm actually ahead, not by a lot, but I was still ahead. And I'm like,
Right.
okay. So like we have these assumptions about our businesses. And I think that is the power in knowing your numbers is you can actually become very encouraged about your progress and very encouraged about what's happening versus, oh my gosh, it's a doom day
Mm-hmm.
and looking at my
Yeah.
numbers. Yeah.
Yeah. The assumptions that you can make and then carry in your body or in your day to day can really be way more debilitating than the actual numbers, because the numbers might like really tell you, oh, this is the direction you need to go. And then also, like, newsflash, there's always a constraint. Even in like the best, most profitable business, there's a constraint. So if we could instead think of whatever's coming up as falling short as just the current constraint, then I
Yeah.
think we can, like, that's like a little bit of a reframe, because even things that are working really, really well still have a spot where things are a little,
Yeah.
squishy or constraining. And so there's always going to be that. Like, life is always going to life. And
Right.
so if we can reframe, instead of thinking like we didn't do well or we're behind, and just say there is a constraint that I need to identify, and then
Mhm.
I can work on that current constraint. There's another one coming up behind it, because that's just how life lives. But I think that reframe of, I need to identify what the current constraint is so I can start working on that problem, because anytime you shine a light on something, it gets better
Yeah. I love that.
or
Like,
worse, depending on what you're going for.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I was going to ask, like, what do you feel like is a really empowering thought for someone to think about their numbers? But I think that what you just said, the light is going to show the opportunity. And I think that's a really powerful thought to think about, just a reframe
Yeah.
for thinking about your
Mhm.
numbers. So
Absolutely.
checking their mindset kind of being the first step. If someone's listening and they haven't even ventured into their numbers or they've been avoiding going into their numbers, the first step is really kind of shifting that mindset. What do you feel like the next step is for someone when really getting on board with being empowered in their numbers?
Absolutely. Well, it starts with, figuring out how to be organized and not being afraid to look. So, like, I actually do a Finance Friday on the first Friday of every month. I take an hour and I go and I do my own bookkeeping and make sure that I'm like, if anybody hasn't paid me, that I'm like, hey, what's going on with that? Where's my
Yeah.
payments? Right? Or I hear all the time where people say they haven't invoiced people yet. And I'm like,
Yeah.
just
Like,
so we're clear, that's how people pay you. Like, you have to send that out so it comes back. So like, I do that to be like honestly top priority every day, right?
yeah.
And so making that date, feeling organized about what you need to do, because I think that's the other thing is that people, they're like, if I spend time, where do I even start? And so I would say start with making sure that people that you've done work for are, pulling that money back to you. And then I would say, like, doing the bookkeeping using some sort of software to keep track, or even a Google sheet to keep track of your spending, and what's coming in and what's coming out. And then if that like becomes overwhelming, or you're looking at the data and you're not sure what it says or means, invite somebody in who can help interpret that for you
Yeah.
or see the trends. And I see that all the time where people are like, I think I'm doing fine, but I don't yet trust the numbers, or it says I'm fine, but it still feels like something's off. Well, then
Yeah.
invite somebody in to just take a cursory look to be like, hey, I see that this is trending up, or this is trending down, or Did you mean to spend, this much on this particular line item? So while you don't have to know how to do all of those things,
Mhm.
getting organized and like getting to a point where somebody can help you analyze those is
Yeah.
really, really important. And then, you might just take that information and start to run with that. And then maybe in a quarter, you come back and look again and you're like, oh, cool, I moved the needle on that current constraint. Great.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you can, and you're probably will have learned something from that conversation that you
Yeah.
can take into whatever the next constraint is.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have a favorite software or system that you use for if someone just wanted to get started? Do you have one that you love?
Yeah. So I have two that I primarily work with. And I usually, if somebody doesn't have one, I usually try to match them to who they are.
Okay.
So Zero, which is Xero, is super simple. If you have ever been in QuickBooks and it made you feel intimidated and you're like, why does that feel like it's for an accountant? Zero is the one for you because it like talks in plain language, bills to pay. Right?
Yeah.
Like it just says things in the vernacular is very like what we would actually say in conversation. And then if you need like a higher level, like lots of detail because you have several different revenue lines or you want to be able to track things a certain way, then I think QuickBooks Online is a great software to use. So it kind of depends on who you are. Zero gets it done and it's cheaper.
Yeah.
They also have lots of other, you know, uh, things that can attach to it depending on, if you're an interior designer and you use House,
Yeah.
QuickBooks will attach, but sometimes it's messy. And so it's not always the best thing to do that. But having somebody help you to understand what's helpful so that you
Mhm.
can look at your numbers and feel good about what the data is good in which to look at. But
Yeah.
yeah, it kind of depends. So Zero and QuickBooks Online are the two that I
Yeah.
mostly work with.
Tell me like, how does financial goals and planning kind of fit into this process? Because I do think that sometimes either because we have an identity, like money story about ability and worth and bringing in money. You kind of mentioned that at the beginning, like actually I think we talked about this before we started recording, like being a woman who's making money and being comfortable with someone who's making money. Like, what are some things you've been able to help people do when it comes to financial goals and planning around that? Hey, friend, let's talk. It's time to book your clarity call. We are going to spend 1 full hour focused on you. A clarity call isn't about pressure. It's about possibilities. It's about you. You having a space to talk through what's on your heart and mind, you walking away with a clear vision and practical next steps, and you feeling confident in what's next and how to get there. You don't need to have it all figured out. That's my job. All you need to do is show up and we'll figure it out together. This is the best hour you can invest in yourself right now. Not in 6 months from now, not next month, right now. And don't just take my word for it. Here's what one of my coaching clients had to say after working together.
Working with Martine has been a game changer. Honestly, I was reluctant at first because of the cost, but after my first session, I quickly came to realize that her expertise is exactly what I needed. She went over my personality pro scan with me that ultimately gave me the insight I needed to know about myself, such as my strengths and my weaknesses. This enables me to better understand myself, how I relate to others on a personal and professional level. It has been eye-opening. Martine is encouraging, understanding, and gives tough love when it's needed. She will go over and beyond for you. I absolutely adore her.
That transformation, it starts with one conversation. It's time to stop spinning your wheels and start making real progress. So head right now to martinewilliams.com or in the show notes and grab your private clarity call spot on my calendar before they're gone. And since I personally monitor my inbox, if you don't see a time slot that fits your calendar, just send me an email at martinewilliams.com with 3 times that do work, and I will make it work for you. All right, friend, let's get back to the show.
Well, we start with just making sure that what they're looking at now is very solid and that they can be making decisions based on good data. Because, right, sometimes if, crap in, crap out is a real situation, right? Um, so, and again, sometimes people they attach all sorts of things to accounting software. And so again, we first start with is the data here legit for you to look at? And then we start to talk about what their ultimate goals are in life. And then we kind of backtrack to what are the goals for this season, revenue goals, client service goals, profitability goals, tax savings goals. And then we'll work through like where, again, so taking where are they now, where they're trying to go, and then find the like baby steps to get them there. So like what feels comfortable financially from a revenue standpoint to get you to the profitability goals that you're looking for. And then we just test against that on a monthly or quarterly basis. Are you tracking there? And if you're not tracking towards that goal, what's preventing you from doing that? And then we just kind of talk through. There's always going to be some operational things that are happening that will affect. But I think that it also starts with a profitable business model.
Yeah.
Do you have a profitable business model? Is the amount of, because
Can you define that?
to backstep a little bit.
Can you define that? Like for someone who's listening,
Yeah.
you know what she's talking, what is a profitable business model? Like, what do you mean by that?
Sure. So profitable business model means that what you want to, well, I mean, the basics are more money coming in than you're spending so that you can pay yourself and reinvest. Like that's like super simple.
Yeah.
But I find that sometimes when we talk about goals, people are like, I want to get to 1 million in revenue. And it's like, okay, great. This is what that would entail based on the parameters that you've set up in your business. Do you want to work that hard? Do you want to hire that many people? Because if you are not willing to do all of the particulars that get you to that,
Yes,
you're going to lose money and lose energy, and it's not going to be a great time. So let's like take, especially if like that's just a milestone because we, the
yeah,
internet says we should want that, right?
that's right. Right. The internet tells us that's hilarious.
Yeah. So ultimately, what do you actually want in your life? And then it's okay to own that. And then maybe when you achieve that, you start to think a little bit bigger. And so I do also tell women, I have a couple of clients that we've had this conversation in the last little bit. Like, you have to be in rooms where people are normalizing where you want to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you're in rooms where there's people are talking about all the things that are going wrong, you're just going to sort of bring, that's going to be your focal point. You got to be in rooms where people are normalizing where you want to go.
Yeah.
And so that like start with you're bringing in more money than you're spending, and you're building towards a goal that feels feasible and good to you. And then get into the rooms where people are having similar mindsets around, of course I can achieve that. It's just a matter of how.
Yeah. I think that's so important because I mean, I've been an entrepreneur for almost 2 decades now, and I have definitely gotten caught in the trap of like, I have to build a big empire, right? To have a big impact. Or like you said, the internet's telling me that I should be, $1 million earner or whatever. And there's just been, I don't know if it's just because I've gotten older or what, but just really being in tune with, is that really what I want? I really want to build a big empire where I have, 20 people on my team and doing this and I'm doing that. And like I was having a conversation with someone the other day and I said, my definition of hard work and what I'm willing to do is very different at almost 50 than it was when I was 30, and it doesn't make it right or wrong. It's just like sometimes you can be in a room where that's the goal and that's really what is normalized for them is the hustle and sacrificing everything on that island of hustle. And I have to hit this dollar amount, and it's so easy to get wrapped up in that. But eventually, like you have to slow down. Like, is that even what I want? Do I want that? And if I don't, then I can't, it will catch up to you. That's where burnout comes, right? When you're not aligned with what you actually want and you're around all these people who are, that's what they want and they're willing to sacrifice those things. And that's not good or bad. It's just not what I want for my life. And so,
Correct. And there are like, there's rooms for every variation of what you want.
yeah,
So if you're in rooms where where it feels too much hustle and ultimately not your goal, that's not the room for you. Find the room where people are finding like they're having a lifestyle business that it's like it meets their needs. They get to do something they love. They're having great impact, but like whatever the pillars are for you and for your life,
yeah,
there are rooms for every. You just have to keep looking, and you have to be willing to like try different places and different, either networking opportunities or masterminds or, coaches. You have to be able to be like, okay, where am I now? And that involves just getting quiet and like really understanding about what season of life you're in. I mean, I quit a great job because I worked for somebody else before I started my business 6 years ago. And I quit a great job because I was like, they want to run fast. They're talking about this, like, have 100 people report to me. And I'm like, no.
Right.
I was launching the middle kid at the time, and I was like, I want to go to graduations. I want to do all the things that are a one-time event for the people in my life. And
Yeah.
I know they thought I was crazy
Yeah.
because I
Oh,
was
yeah.
like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
know this is a rocket ship. I know that you're like breaking the internet and it's so much fun. And again, I loved a lot of it, but I realized at the end of the day, when I was quiet, I cared way more about being there for my family in that little season. And so I was like, okay, how can I take what skills I bring to the table to a place that I can have more impact
Hmm.
and still be really, really excited about getting up to go to work every day and
Yeah.
turning it off when I need to go be present with the people who are about to leave my house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those relationships were way more important to me than this sort of cool role I had.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. So no matter where you are on that, scale, whether you are like someone who's looking for, wants to have a large organization and a large empire and a big brand, like go for it. Right.
100%.
You
Yeah.
want the small, then that's okay too. You get to define what success looks and feels like for you. And I think that along with the mindset work is missing a lot of times. We don't give ourselves permission because we're so in that grind, especially from a profitability standpoint. Like I
Yeah.
have to just stay in that performance profitable loop. And yes, we want profit for sure, but you
Absolutely.
get to define what that profit looks like and how big you want that profit to be.
Well, and profit just isn't just dollars. My husband and I keep toying with like having this podcast that I want to call The Profitable Life. And the premise would be that profit isn't just about the number that you get to take home from your business, but it's also the energy you have left over from working on that to do the things in your life that you wanted to do.
Yeah.
So that you have time for hobbies that you like, or you have time and money and energy for travel. So it's
Mhm.
like the whole package
Yeah.
is important. And so it's time, which again, life is seasonal. You're going to have more time for work and less time for work over the course of your life. Energy is like your number one resource. It's the thing you should protect the most.
Yeah.
And if things are out of alignment, you burn through energy fast. And
Yeah.
then there is, of course, the money. Like because we live in a society where you need to have some to be able to trade with others, like that's real. But it's like all three of those things are so important and they all have to be dialed in, or you wake up and you don't like your life. You
Yeah.
wake up and you don't want to do the thing. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
that's your signal. Hold on, something's out of alignment. What is it? And what you start by looking at the things that are contributing to that, and you start being like, okay, that. I mean, I had this actually with my VA 2 days ago. We were talking about something, and I could feel myself energized. And then I went back to what I was doing, and I was like, oh, there's some disparity here. I was like, note to self, this is the thing, this is the current constraint that I'm working on, which just happens to be a particular client situation that I took on in a time that I also needed the money, because sometimes you do. But
Right.
it's the thing
Yeah.
that I can't stay just in that little place, because there's these other places where I like have unlimited energy and you can see me laid up, and like, and so it's like lean more there and then find other people in your organization who can do these things that it feels like a slog. So
Yeah. Yeah. And profitability too, like as like we're expanding on this word, which I love, is like to me also like having a business that you're only working with your dream clients. Like
yeah.
that's profitable for me because it does keep me energetically aligned. And it is possible you can grow your business to that place. You can just decide, I'm only going to bring
Absolutely.
that I want to work with. That's entrepreneurship,
Mhm.
right? If not, you can go work for someone else and then you have to work with certain people. But as an
Yeah.
entrepreneur, you get to decide who I want to work with. And with one of my clients just recently, it just kind of like clicked for her. And she was like, this is what's been missing. Like I've been taking on projects that I just didn't feel energetically aligned with. And I didn't want to work with that kind of client. I really want to work with this kind of client. I'm like, yeah, okay. So then we have to like downplay that offer and just burn it if
Yep.
you want to and
It's
just
okay to let go of an offer.
Yeah. Yeah. Just really focus on that, because if you are spending a lot of time on the things that drain you, like you said, that's when you wake up and you start resenting your business, and no amount of profit is going to
Right.
change that burnout feeling. No amount of profit.
Correct.
You cannot throw
Correct.
money at
Yeah.
that.
Money does not solve all things.
No,
It doesn't.
no.
I know we all think it, we all are sure it does, but it's not true.
I mean, it helps for sure, right? But it's
It
not.
helps to a point, right? I think it helps to a
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, well, we've all seen this. We've seen the most wealthy people in the world be miserable,
Mhm.
right? So we know it's not a money thing, it's not a profit thing. It's, they get to a place and they look back and are like, I don't even have anybody to enjoy this with, because I've burned my relationships in pursuit of my success. I've burned my own energy out on, in the pursuit of the success. So I do talk about burnout here on the podcast. And I would love to just ask you if you've ever experienced burnout. And then if you
Absolutely.
have, what did you find most helpful for you to kind of get out? And how did it present itself for you? Like for some people, burnout is like just lack of passion. For some people, it's the physical and mental, emotional exhaustion. Some people end up in the hospital with it. So just, I would love to know if you're willing to share, like, what was your experience with burnout and how did you help yourself get out?
Yeah. I mean, definitely. And I think that it comes in waves, right?
Yeah.
I don't know that it's like you get there, you solve it, and then you're never there again. That's not how
Yeah.
I experience. I definitely have had times where I bit off more than I could chew. And then I thought I was good. I thought I was good. And then I wasn't good. It
Yeah.
turns out I had a physical, I manifested a physical illness that I was like, oh, I'm all of a sudden too tired to like live my life. And so I had to really be like, okay, so what are the pieces that are contributing to this burnout? And how do I remove myself from the things that are not lighting me up, and so that I have time to rest? And how can I like rejigger the business to do that so that I can have more rest? And so that looked like changing the offer. I fired a client who was like sucking life out of me
Yep.
and didn't understand boundaries. And even though I was putting them up, they were not respecting them. And I was like, hold up, I get to decide. This is how this works, right?
Yep.
And then I reallocated on the team, and then I let an offer go. I was like, we don't offer that service because it requires too much of me, and I
Mhm.
didn't yet have the team in place to deliver the rest of it. I mean, this was a couple of years ago, so thank God we're in a different place.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really had to be like, time to stop, because I did. I thought I could, I'll just
Yeah.
work a little harder. And then you're like, that doesn't work. And I would say that it happens again. So in more recent time, when the RV was broken down and life was needing like a lot more money than it typically did. And I was like, okay, then I need to take on these things. But it turns out that's not really what I needed. I needed more stability, which is why we made a choice to come to Asheville and to, be in a new place, have some adventure and a new place to travel from, but to be able to have a little bit more grounding for the day-to-day work so that I could, realign with the clients that were those dream
Yeah.
clients, and, find other ways to serve clients that were less of that. And
Mhm.
it doesn't mean I didn't love those other clients. I just, they did not have the things that were for me the reasons I was in business.
Mhm.
So, like I say this, like I don't take a lot of rinse and repeat bookkeeping business. We have a little bit of that in the business, but I don't take those because as much as I love working with some of those people, they don't need the CFO consulting, or they don't have like all the levers we can pull on from a project profitability project or perspective. So I had to let go of some of those, even though I loved them and I got them to good people, right?
Yeah.
Or have them like they're in my team is dealing with them 100%. But I, again, had to realign to be like, what are the things that give me energy? Which is why this week when I was like, oh no, I got here again. And if I stay there,
Yeah.
burnout will come, right?
Yeah.
If I stay there, burnout will come.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm a lot more intuitive about
Hmm.
like paying attention, and then I'm quicker to like close the loop on, oh wait, we're out of alignment, time to make a shift.
Yeah.
And I think that you kind of always are going to go through that. I think there's going to be ebbs and flows. Sometimes you're more in tune, sometimes you're not. But for me, it's like, get quiet, think about what's happening, what are the contributing factors or the current constraints, and then
Yeah.
what can you do about fixing them, because life's going to continue to life. And a lot of times you have control over it, you don't always. I feel like I'm also aware that there's plenty of times that there's plenty of potential things that I won't have control over, but certainly how I spend my time and who I work with and, who I let into my sphere of influence now, those are all things I can control.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's so important for people to hear that it's not that if we're talking about mindset, if we're talking about burnout, like it's not that you're never going to have those negative thoughts about money or profit.
Sure.
You're never going to have, the burnout moments. It's just you start catching yourself sooner because you're so self-aware. You're giving yourself the space and time to actually check in with yourself. Like if you're finding that you're checking out, that's actually the moment you need to actually start leaning in and checking in, right? You're checking out by doom scrolling on social media. You're checking out by, I don't know, drinking alcohol.
Living for the next
Right.
Netflix series.
Yeah, whatever it is, right? Like just
Yeah.
start noticing that and you'll start picking up on those signs sooner and sooner and sooner. So even someone who coaches a lot on burnout, still experienced burnout. It just shows up different. And there's quiet burnout that you're like, oh, I didn't even realize I was there. There's many faces of burnout, but you just learn to recognize them all and which ones are the ones you're quicker to get into. So it's not that we're trying to create perfection. It's just being so self-aware and creating that space. Just like you have margin in books, you have to create margin for yourself to be able to tune into yourself instead of just staying in the hustle and the grind and the profitability and performance loop, right?
Absolutely. I
Ability.
remember years ago, I heard someone talk about keeping margin in, just your day-to-day life. And it was when the kids were really small. And I was like, that is possible. And, ultimately that was also the season, right? When the kids situation takes over your life, like that is a thing.
Mhm.
And you can also decide, you can make some rules in your household, right? That help to create more margin. Like we never do, on Sundays, we always do this, or on Fridays, we always do that. You can block and tackle a little, and it's okay to make yourself a priority
Yeah.
amongst all of the different things. Like you have to have that temperature check on your own energy, because
Yeah.
if you don't, you won't show up well for any of the people in your life that you care most about.
Yeah, I mean, you're the asset. You're the number one
Mhm.
asset
For
to everything
sure.
else, right? If you're not healthy, your business can't be healthy. If you're not healthy, your marriage can't be healthy. Your parenting
Yep.
can't be healthy. It all starts with you. And I feel like everyone who's listening to my podcast, like, can you say that 1,000 more times? I mean, more times to say that. I'm going to keep saying it until you all get it and believe it because it is so true versus putting
and
yourself on
you
the back burner for another day. Like, no, today is the day to focus.
and you can't expect other people to give you space or provide you space.
Yes.
You have to be the one to be like, this is my space bubble, and this is what is okay and not okay for me. Because everybody else is they're doing what they want. And when you come up against each other, you have to start to figure out how to give and take.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
the only person that's ever going to be responsible for your space is you.
Yep. 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 No one's
Can't
coming.
expend,
No
yeah,
one's coming
can't
for
expect the kids or the husband or the boss or the clients to create it for you, because they're sort of always going to be wanting what they want. That's okay.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, if you could leave the listeners with like one final thought about their numbers, about being profitable in their business, like what would you want them to know?
I want them to remember that finances is it's just information
Mm-hmm.
that can help direct your business choices and your life choices, and it doesn't need to be scary, so don't be afraid to look.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you're afraid, find places that can help you be courageous. Turn that fear into courage.
Love that. Love that. So tell everyone where they can connect with you, where they can learn more about your services. And yeah, I'll put it on the show notes for them, but I want them to hear it come from you too.
Awesome. Well, we do a lot of work on LinkedIn. So if you want to, see any content, LinkedIn is the place to see like other podcasts I've done, or, posts about various things in business. So that's a good spot. And then my website, tanakramer.com, is obviously there's a bunch of different information there, but we have a private podcast that's a pretty short 5 episode series that just talks about like some questions that you should ask yourself in your business, and what to focus on. So that's an additional extension of what we're talking about, so you can get a better sense of like who I am and what you might want. And then I would say that anybody who is looking forward to working with me, I always start with what I call an alignment and opportunity call. And we do exactly what we talked about in the beginning, which is what's keeping you up at night? What are you secretly like panicking about? Or, what makes you feel uneasy, where you're trying to go? And then we just start to talk about how we could build that bridge, because everything just starts with where are you today, where you're trying to go, and how do we get you there?
Yeah, yeah. I love that. And sometimes like I say this all the time, like it's just helpful just to talk to someone about it. Like you have all these thoughts that are going through your head and make you said maybe some secret fears that you have about your money. And you don't want to talk to your spouse about it. You don't want to talk to your friends about it because they're not entrepreneurs and they don't understand it. And so it's like just so helpful to know there's someone I can just get on the phone with and I can just let all that out and then decide what
Absolutely.
to do with it after I get it all out. So I'm so thankful that you offer that to the listeners, and we'll put the links to everything in the show notes. But thank you so much for coming on and just being honest and giving people some helpful mindset shifts around building a profitable business, and not just from a financial profit, but also like profiting in your energy and being in alignment. That's so in alignment with what I do here on the podcast. So I appreciate that perspective too.
Awesome. Well, yeah. I love, again, I want to be the cheerleader to women business owners. Like, let me be your cheerleader in the finance end of things, because you're awesome. You've got this and you can figure it out. I promise.
Love it. All right. Well, thank you again for coming on the show. And friends, I will catch you on the next episode. Well, that's a wrap, friends. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. I really hope it met you right where you are and gave you some encouragement for your day. Could you do me the biggest favor and leave me a rating and review? Seriously, it's the best way for you to support the show. And while you're there, be sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. Thanks again. And until next time, I am believing in you always.